Good afternoon, Washington. It's a great day in the nation's capital. I'm Mike McClanahan.
And I'm Sheila Alexander-Reid, and welcome to And Another Thing on 1050 AM Air America, Washington.
Or on the web at AirAmericaWashington.com. Our show is designed to be entertaining, informative, and give you another point of view on what's happening in our communities in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia.
We are the only program in the metro area that discusses what's going on in our region from a progressive point of view each Saturday from noon to 1.
But first, we have in studio with us live Joe Abbey, who is the campaign manager for the Creigh Deeds campaign. How you doing, Joe?
Not too bad, Mike. How are you doing, Sheila? Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you, and I know things are wild and woolly, and you're moving at 100 miles an hour over there, right?
Yeah, it's about right. It sounds right. About 17 days to Election Day, so we haven't stopped in a couple months now.
Well, we're gonna jump right into it. First question I have for you is, actually, what does your latest polling show you in this race? Well, let me tell you first. We had Ann Kornbluth on last week. She talked about the poll from the Post and how statewide Creigh is 9 points down. Of course, we all know that's going to close, but what can you tell us about what you're seeing internally?
Well, let's talk about the polling a little bit. I know Ann and the Post did a good poll, very thorough poll, and it did have us 9 points down. Obviously, you always want to have a poll that has you 9 points up rather than 9 points down. But internally, we're starting to close this campaign out. We can see this race start to narrow, and there are good silver linings in there. We are close to our win numbers in the DC media market. We're tied with Bob down in the Hampton Roads market, one of his home bases, and it's really all about turnout. For the first time ever in this state in a very long time, all you have to do is really turn out Democrats to win, and that's what we're going to do. But talking about polling, I looked at some of the polling from the primary. That was ugly for a very long time for Creigh Deeds, and it dawned on me that the first poll that had us winning the campaign was conducted 9 days before Election Day. 2 days after that, there was a poll that came out that had Terry actually winning again, and then 6 days later, we took 50% of the vote. So we are going to close. I've never worked for a guy that can close as strong as Creigh Deeds.
Well, and of course, the only poll that really matters is the one that happens on Election Day.
Yeah, you have to take it all with a grain of salt.
We're taking it all. We're taking it all with a grain of salt. In the debate in Fairfax County last month, Creigh was cornered. Well, cornered is probably not the right word, but after the debate, the press gaggle that gathered around him, and he said some contradictory things. Well, they seemed contradictory, and Bob McDonald took those and turned them into an ad immediately, and we have a clip of that. Chris, can you play that for us?
People, when you said, I'm not going to raise taxes, what did you mean? You said in the debate, I'm not going to raise taxes. What did that mean?
Well, that meant in the general sense of the term, I'm not gonna raise general fund taxes. I know we're gonna have to raise money for transportation.
So you'll raise other kinds of taxes?
I think I meant what I said. I have no plan to raise general fund taxes.
So what kind of taxes would you?
We're gonna everything's on the table when we consider how we raise money for transportation.
Is the gas tax a general fund tax? Gas tax go to general fund?
The gas tax goes into transportation trust.
So it would not then be covered under not raising general fund taxes.
I think I made myself clear, young lady. I don't know.
Okay, so Joe, tell us what Creigh is trying to say. Now let me just set the stage here. There's just been a debate. The debate is over. Hordes of reporters literally rush the stage. Mm-hmm. There's probably how many people? 30 people standing around Creigh?
30 to 40.
So they're all standing around him, full circle, asking, just firing questions back and forth. So that's setting the stage. So what is he trying to say here?
I mean, what he was trying to say is what he said during the debate, is he is not going to raise taxes into the general fund. And the general fund in Virginia pays for everything from education to public safety to healthcare and mental health, basically the major pots. What Creigh has said all along on transportation is that we can't rob Peter to pay Paul. One of McDonald's main themes of his transportation plan is to take $5.4 billion away from our schools to give it to our roads. That is just unacceptable to Creigh. So what Creigh was saying is that we need a dedicated revenue source for transportation that does not come out of the general fund, that does not steal from our schools.
And I have to also point out that in a later debate, which happened last Monday, I think Creigh was much more clear and was able to get his message out there as to actually what his point was and how he would raise this money and his transportation plan.
Yeah, and listen, you look at the transportation situation in Virginia. It's clearly one of the bigger problems that we have in the state, if not one of the biggest problems that we have in the state. But if you look at the history of Virginia, we haven't really done anything about it in 23 years. And so Creigh, being a student of history, looked back and said, okay, what have previous governors tried to do, and what was the last governor who actually did anything? And that was Belial's. And what Belial's did was not the politically easy thing to do, which is to throw out a bunch of hodgepodge ideas, which is what McDonnell is doing. That, by the way, are debunked, and I think the Post even called them phony baloney and dead on arrival. But it actually pulled together a bipartisan commission of business groups, legislators, and others, transportation experts, right after Election Day, and say, okay, guys, how are we going to solve this problem? We all know we have to do it, and that's what Belial's did, and that's what Creigh's going to do.
Great.
Let me ask you a quick question. A lot has been made of the fact, or McDonald's campaign has tried to make a lot of the fact that Creigh Deeds doesn't have a transportation plan, and I know that's not true. Why don't you take an opportunity here and tell us what his transportation plan is?
Well, yeah,
in a minute or less.
And yes, an abbreviated version.
Of course. It's simply not true, as you stated, Sheila. Creigh's plan is as follows: it needs to be statewide in scope. It needs to not pit one region against another. It needs to not take from our schools. But as far as funding goes, all options really need to be on the table. Other than taking money from our schools, all options need to be on the table. We need to have a concise way to pay for this. It needs to be multimodal. It needs to focus on getting people off of the roads. Mm-hmm. And obviously Northern Virginia and the Hampton Roads regions are the regions that have some of the biggest problems. But let me repeat something that I've heard Creigh say for years, and he says it in Bath County as he says it in Arlington, which is, if Northern Virginia and Hampton Roads have a transportation problem, this Commonwealth has a transportation problem. We can't just pit one region against another and expect that to solve our state's problems. We have to do this together.
Double T, you have a question?
Yeah, one thing I've been wondering is I have not seen anything that connects the previous two governors who've been Democrats, who've been very competent and telling people that there's been this talk of Democratic fatigue, and the electorate is maybe just saying they want to change. But I haven't seen anything from the campaign saying, look how much better the state has been run under Democrats than it was before that.
Well, I see what you're saying. We've been saying that a lot, actually. Creigh says that almost every single day on the stump. We said it a lot during the primary. We've continued to say it. Governor Warner, Governor/Senator Warner, Governor Kane have done a great job steering the state. Governor Kane, especially during some of the worst economic times that we've seen since the Great Depression. We're not California. We're not, siphoning off the state on eBay and things like that. He's done a wonderful job as governor. Now, that said, people are obviously still hurting in Virginia. People are still worried. But, we've had television ads with both Governor Kane and Governor Warner. One of our first radio spots that we did out of the primary featured Governor Kane. We've seen the spots with Governor Warner, and actually we're campaigning with Governor Kane today. And we'll be campaigning with Senator Warner this week as well. So,
following up on that, the complaint that I hear from Democrats in Virginia, where I live, in Northern Virginia, has been that the campaign has been trying to give voters a reason not to vote for McDonnell and not enough reason to vote for Creigh. And can I get you to respond after we listen to this clip? This is your latest commercial.
Sure.
Bob McDonnell says he's from Fairfax County, but that was before he attended Pat Robertson's law school and served on its board, before he wrote that working women are detrimental to the family, before he introduced 35 bills restricting a woman's choice, and before he voted against equal pay for women. So no matter what McDonnell claims, all signs say he's not from around here anymore.
So
has the campaign been too negative?
No, I don't think so. Mike. Truth be told, we're being outspent anywhere between $7-8 million by the Republicans. The RGA came in huge early and just went right after Creigh. And McDonnell is now spending more money on negative campaigning than we are spending on TV alone. So I think it's a matter of perspective in that regard. But I think it is important that people in Virginia know who Bob McDonnell really is.